Welcome to the Game Week 22 video. Now this week kicks off with Spurs and Sunderland, and Spurs will be very disappointed with the Leicester defeat. I think if you look at the chances in the game, they definitely had enough chances to win the game for sure, and I think this is the pure reason as to why people really can't be saying Spurs are title contenders. It's these kind of big games at home where not necessarily against big opponents, although Leicester definitely are, have shown themselves to be a very capable team this year and definitely in my eyes are title contenders. These are the type of games where they can't afford to lose because you dropping points here, especially in the context of this last game against Leicester, you're giving Leicester extra 3 points. And if Spurs are gonna, finish in top four, there's no doubt Leicester, will be one of the contenders. So disappointing result for them. There's no doubt. I think Kane had a really good chance, which the keeper saved, but they had a few other chances as well. And in terms of players, I would highlight to, I think defensively we've already discussed which players, are of interest. Adewar, I've already mentioned his BPS is quite favoured in this game, but that does depend on Spurs keeping a clean sheet. Okay, offensively, from what I see, is Kane and Lamela. These are the two players that stand out when it comes to having chances. Ever since Lamela scored his hat trick in the UEFA Cup, it seems like Pochettino has kind of entrusted in him to play these games, and has he delivered somewhat, but he has been getting chances which he maybe should have scored. So it makes you wonder. I think one big thing for Spurs is Eriksen. There's no doubt he's a very capable player, and he hasn't really delivered in the last few months in terms of statistics, in terms of assists and goals. Now, I'm pretty sure if Spurs are really going to elevate to this extra level of trying to kind of consolidate the position at top four, they really have to make sure they get the best out of Eriksen. On the other hand, for Sunderland, a massive win for them. 4-2 away to Swansea. Two teams you could say next to each other on the table, and Sunderland have done really well in the last two games. Defoe, 5 goals in 2 games, and he is the classical striker in terms of, he's got speed, he's got pace. He's not as young as he was before, but he can still finish, and it's showing there. And credit to Sam Allardyce, it's taken some time, but he has a proven track record in making things work, and that's exactly what he's doing. In terms of players that I recommend from Sunderland, definitely Defoe. At the moment, he's firing, and it looks like he will be getting a lot of chances. But the second player is actually Van Arnholt. He's heavily involved in the way Sunderland attack from the flank, and Sunderland look a bit more stronger, you could say, than definitely what they were before defensively. But Van Arnholt gives you that attackive element, which I think is worth risking for. In terms of this game, look, Spurs probably look like favourites, but the way Sunderland are going, confidence is such a big thing. It wouldn't surprise me if this ended up as a draw, and I can only see goals from both teams. I actually do think Spurs will end up conceding, but because I do think Sunderland they probably go there in the mentality of going for the goals, but there's a chance that Spurs will probably outscore them. So I'm probably going to give it to Spurs win, but it wouldn't surprise me if this game ended as a score draw. In terms of 3 o'clock kickoffs, we've got Bournemouth and Norwich, and Bournemouth will be disappointed, having taken the lead and taking the ascendancy against West Ham at home. You could say West Ham did really well. I think they picked up the gears and then kind of dismantled Bournemouth. And defensively, they've obviously got their injuries, but they kind of got dismantled, and disappointing to see because, after taking the lead, you really should be a bit more stronger, especially when you were in the game. But in terms of players, look, Afobe's come in, and is he a player I think people should be looking at? Yeah, for sure, because it does look like Joshua King will probably, due to his injury, probably sit out this first 11 selection, and Afobe looks like the main guy for Bournemouth. But the players around him, Harry Arter obviously got the goal, but he's involved. But I don't know how attackive he is relative to these other players. I still think Stanislas, for his value, is definitely worth a shout, especially when you consider the fact that he does take set pieces. So a Afobe is a risk, but definitely looking at someone like Stanislas and even Richard to a certain extent. Richard will always get chances. There's quite a few transfers in Bournemouth, so maybe it's good to maybe wait to a certain extent as well. But obviously, there's fixtures during the transfer period, so those are my recommendations along with the normal defenders. Smith, as I mentioned, if Bournemouth keep a clean sheet, he will be getting a free BPS, just guaranteed, because unless keeper's made a save or a defender has been somewhat involved in a goal, because they favour him a lot in this BPS system. And Norwich, on the other hand, they were in the game against Stoke, and then Stoke took it away. And I think it's this is the Premier League after all, and Norwich can't expect themselves to be after they win 1-0 against Southampton. It's just back to reality really, away to Stoke. I don't think they should be too disappointed, but I think this is a big game for them. And two teams near the same position in the table. I think I see a Bournemouth win because I don't think Norwich have been that great away. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a Bournemouth win. In terms of the other game, 3 o'clock, we've got Chelsea and Everton, and Chelsea will be disappointed with a 2-2 draw. I think, even though they haven't lost against the team under Gus Hiddink, I think they would have wanted to get some more points. But there's definitely a base for them to build stuff. I think one of the biggest worries before in regards to Chelsea was, are they scoring goals? And now they are. So I think it's maybe just being a bit more resilient in defence, and maybe a few changes are required in terms of the setup in the back four. But I still think they're very naive when it comes to defending in general. In terms of the offensive players like Willian, Oscar, Costa, these are the three players that I look at and I say, yeah, these are the three players that will be heavily involved in whatever Chelsea's mainly, create. Everton, on the other hand, a great draw against City, although a bit fortuitous. I think City probably had a good shot for a penalty near the end for sure. But at the end of the day, Everton did very well. Tim Howard's come back and he's given a good performance. We've got the normal back four in the sense of you've got Funes Mori, Baines has come back and done really well, and I think he's another player potentially worth looking at with, even with Seamus Coleman being injured, but Funes Mori now deputising. There's things to look at in terms of what Everton are doing defensively. But do I think they will give a clean sheet against Chelsea? No, I don't. Offensively, I don't think we need to go any more in terms of the players, in terms of Barclays, Lukaku. These are all players that you guys are aware of. This game, I think Everton will be a bit encouraged by the draw, but I think I can maybe see Chelsea winning this just because of the fact that they dropped some points, and I think they'll be galvanised. On the other hand, Everton, they've got a Carling Cup game coming soon. I can see them somewhat holding back, and I think I want to go for a Chelsea win because I think Everton might be a bit more tired than Chelsea really when it comes to the fact that Man City had a lot of possession in the game against them a few days ago. Next game is City vs Palace, and look, Palace seem to be a better team away, so maybe this is a tough game for Man City. Look, I think with Man City it's a case of forgetting the last game because just champions will always come across points where they drop points. Like for instance at home 0-0. Although I think this has been a very long time since City have actually not scored in a home fixture, which should worry them, but to a certain extent, not too much because they had chances and shout for a penalty as well, which I mentioned. So, it's kind of just looking ahead rather than thinking about the past from City here. One thing I would say, however, is in terms of players, I mean, look, Aguero's coming back and it looks like he's heavily involved in what Man City do. So he's a player for sure you have to be looking at. Even though Clichy played, I think Kolarov will come back in the team. And Sanya looks like he's been a consistent player for Man City. So if there's anyone that I would say, because Zabaleta doesn't look like he's going to come back very soon, maybe he's a player to look at 5.5. Maybe for a replacement for Kolarov if someone is considering getting him out, or any Man City defender, because Sanya looks like he is consistently being played by Pellegrini. Palace, on the other hand, gave the 3 points to Villa. Bad mistake from Hennessy. And in that game, I think Sakho, you look at Zaha, Wickham, they all had chances, opportunities to create something, and they just were a bit lackluster. This is a big game, and as simple as I'm going to say is I want to go for a Man City win. This is going to be a real test for Man City because, like I said, all champions drop points. There's nothing new about that. And if Man City want to be champions, then it's not about the 2 points they dropped. It's about how they react to the draw at home against Everton. And we're going to find out a lot for me, I think this is one of the biggest games for Man City this season. Are City real, title contenders in the sense of are they really going to apply pressure to the top? Because we've seen teams drop points consistently, you know, and not really develop a big gap. So if Man City drop points here and you see people like Leicester and Arsenal, for instance, picking up points, I really do think we have to question if City are real title contenders because look like they'll have Champions League run, look like they have a Carling Cup on the schedule, they've got FA Cup, they've got a lot of priorities, and yeah, they've got a good squad, but they've got injuries as well, and they have to be careful about playing players aggressively, especially of the likes of Aguero and Silva, so there is question marks there. Newcastle and West Ham. Newcastle, great draw against Man United. It was a great watch. And players, I mean, Dummett is a player I've already mentioned about how cheap he is relative to Newcastle defenders, but obviously got the goal. You've got Mitrovic, who's now playing, taking the penalty, which is important for people in fantasy. So he's a player definitely that comes and stands out now. So he's the player you have to be looking at. West Ham, on the other hand, like if you had watched my video last week, Ender Valencia was the player I was talking about, and he got points. But Payet for sure has come back, and Antonio. Those are the three players, like I mentioned in my previous video. Those are the three players you want to look at if you're going to buy from players from West Ham. But I think this will either end as a draw or a Newcastle win. I don't see West Ham winning unless Payet does something magical. That's as simple as that, really. Into the last 3 o'clock game, Southampton and West Brom, and Southampton important win against Watford because they were very, you could say, inconsistent and uneasy there. But a solid win against Watford. And I think he changed things around. Brought Target back, who hasn't played for several months, and it just seemed like a new, fresh breath of fresh air, really, and something different. And end of the day, he got the free bonus. But will he play this game? I think we have to wait. Whether he plays him as a fullback or as a winger, we'll find out tomorrow. West Brom, on the other hand, obviously a good draw, but the problem with West Brom is the goals come from everywhere. It's really weird. You can never ever predict it. So, I think it's difficult to kind of pinpoint where West Brom want to get the goals. Obviously, they've got players like Rondon around them, and you see players like McManaman, etc. Then they set pieces. They've got defenders. So really, Olsen is a player which I have in my team, which I still think for his value for a West Brom defender is pretty good. But I actually do think Southampton will actually follow up the recent good result with another win and end up having 2 consecutive wins, which I think will help them a lot in terms of relieving some pressure, I think, on Koeman. But I think West Brom, I think this is an important window for them because they're somewhat in the middle of the table in a way, maybe near the bottom, but not really in a relegation battle. But I think they don't want to end up getting sucked there, obviously, with Berarino's transfer looking unknown. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he left this window. So it's a bit of a time for West Brom. In terms of the 5:30 game, Villa and Leicester, it's a big game for Villa, and there is still a considerable gap between them and being secure at the moment. And no doubt a win against Crystal Palace home was one step closer to that feat. Leicester, on the other hand, I think were really good against Tottenham. And I'll tell you why. Even though Tottenham had chances. Tottenham had chances to win the game. But the fact is they didn't score. And Leicester continued. And they created really good chances. Maybe not as many as Spurs, but they created chances. And at the end of the day, a really old-fashioned header by Hoof. Rather than going for, rushing the header, or he just pinpointed it accurately into the corner, despite despite another player being there on the line. So it's a great win for Leicester, and people keep saying, "Oh, when Arsenal dropped points, what did City do?" The question is, no, Leicester had actually won the game, and Leicester are title contenders. We are now in Gameweek 22, and I see no reason as to why Leicester cannot be title contenders. Obviously, they have injuries. They will suffer. Probably they're more vulnerable to their form kind of depreciating due to injuries than relative to other teams. But until that happens, Leicester at the moment are title contenders. That's for sure. These two played a great game last year when it ended 3-2, and I think from there we call Leicester the comeback kings, for instance. But I don't know what to say about this game. I can see it being a draw. But I have to say, I can't see how Villa are going to win this game. Um, so it's either going to be a draw if Leicester don't play well. But honestly, I think Leicester will probably win this game. I think there's nothing stopping them from winning this game. Villa's defense is not healed overnight, and I'll be surprised because Leicester have done pretty good defensively as well in the last few weeks when goals have kind of gone down. I think they've kept like 3 clean sheets in a row, despite, that's great. If Mahrez and Vardy are not scoring, the best thing you could do is probably not make sure you concede, and that's exactly what they're doing. So I'm probably going to give it a Leicester win, but it wouldn't surprise me if it maybe ended as a draw. In terms of the Sunday fixtures, Liverpool, Man United, classic game. Liverpool, we galvanised from the 3-3 because they were on the verge of defeat. Players like Firmino for sure. Like I've mentioned, he's a player I've mentioned before, so it's nothing new that should be looking at with, especially with Coutinho being injured. Man United, Rooney is a player I recommended, and hopefully some of you guys got him in, got some points. He's another player I think he's up there. I think Fellaini as well, to a certain extent, is someone to look at, along with like players like Martial, but Rooney is definitely the key player. Don't forget, he does take penalties. He's the player to be looking at, when it comes to bringing new players in. Liverpool, Man U, I can see goals happening both ways. I can see Liverpool playing the same type of game they played against Arsenal, and I do think Man United have kind of changed in a way, not overnight, but they realise that they want to score more goals. It's what the fans want to see as well. So I can see this being a full-blooded game, really. And who do I think will win? I think this might end up as a draw. I just don't see, but it could go. It can go either way. But I was sit on the fence and call it a draw. In terms of the Stoke and Arsenal game, now look, history. I'm a fan of history in the sense of you have to look at it and see how teams have performed, because unless the first 11 has totally changed from last year, then you have to look at the previous results. And in this case, Arsenal do have a bad record against Stoke. So I'll put it like this: Arsenal really should have won against Liverpool. But a true Arsenal fan who actually watched the game would say that Arsenal lost the 2 points, but did they deserve to win? Not really. It was probably a fair draw. So, let's not get too carried away about the Liverpool game. Focus on this. Most Arsenal fans will probably take 4 points out of 6, considering we would have had Liverpool away and Stoke away. But I think if Arsenal are real title contenders, a win here will go a big way in proving that. Because this is definitely one of those kind of tough away games. Stoke, Giseli's come into the team and I think he's doing really well. We've mentioned even Arnautovic from before, and they're doing. Stoke are finding some other players now that seem to be getting points. For instance, Arsenal on the other hand, obviously Giroud, played a great game. Almost should have got a hat trick probably, but was a bit unlucky. The ball hit his heel, his studs, and that's always difficult to tell because it's a similar kind of like chance Defoe took away for Sunderland, whereas Giroud just got a bit unlucky, I think, because his second goal was total class. No one argued about that. So it's a tough game, and I mean, as an Arsenal fan, it's tough to say, but I look at facts and I say, well, Arsenal probably won't win this game. It's just how it is. The last time they won this game, I think, was when we were last closest to actually win the league. I remember that game when Ramsey got injured and Fabregas for Marlon. So we need something like that. We need a big performance. I cannot in any way say that performance is coming. Whether Sanchez is available, no one truly knows. But this is how it is. I'm not going to call it, but I still think logistically we'll say that Arsenal probably won't win this game. Swansea and Watford, both teams defeats, and sure they want to come back. Swansea, Sigurdsson, Ayew, those are the three players I mentioned. Obviously, the last game, being 10 men down on that Kyle Norton challenge was bad, and Rangel looks like as a player, obviously, he'll be playing, so he's one of the defenders that I prefer in this Swansea setup. Watford, they haven't scored, so I'm pretty sure Ordini and Igalo will be itching to get back on the score sheet, so those are the players I'll be looking at as well from Watford. But otherwise, I think this probably could end up as a draw, but it wouldn't surprise me if Swansea won this Monday night game. So that's my prediction. In terms of another thing, Afalai, of Stoke, he hasn't really got points for Stoke in throughout the whole Premier League season so far, and he picked up 2 assists but picked up 3 bonus. So it shows, maybe he's someone to look at, because it seems like the BPS system favours him, and maybe he's starting to find his ground in Stoke because, like I mentioned, few players were not really, with Shakira being injured and Bojan and Arnautovic not really coming with the goals. Stoke have really shown they've got other players that can get the goals, and that's quite encouraging for someone like who's a Stoke fan because it shows they have players that have a good squad. So I think Stoke really could have a good season this year because it shows another element to them. Look at Watford, for instance. Igalo Dini didn't score, and then you pretty much cut off Watford's real threat. So for that reason, for instance, I would say Stoke are probably going to finish higher than Watford this season. But yeah, those are my predictions. If you haven't joined the Fantasy Football family, do join it, and good luck for the game week.